Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Pregame Network podcast episode 4. Today, Anthony and I are joined by our friend Joe. We've had a long, fruitful history of gaming together, and just thought it'd be fun to include him in the conversation.
As every history of gaming, it's called a friendship. Yes. You know that too.
Yeah, well, it's a synonym, same difference. Shut up.
It's okay. I hate Joe too. I just,
I also hate me. I'm not friends with
me. As with every bi-weekly podcast, we will always open with what we've been playing so far. So I'm gonna let Joe start first, even though I already know what his answer is gonna be. But he's the guest, so he can go first.
You go ahead, Joe. What have you been playing?
I've been binging a shit ton of Helldivers.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why Dan wanted you to lead with that.
I mean, listen, it's a blast. I'm almost level 50.
It's a really good time. It's a really good time.
It's a lot of fun. You know, it has its moments. You know, some bugs here and there, no pun intended. But
yeah,
the last time I played ended with a crash. But
yeah, I really feel bad for you. Like, you know, you tried to play on all low settings, 720p resolution. You still couldn't get anywhere with it. That's just terrible.
That is a fucking headache.
720p.
Bro, it's miserable.
Buy a PlayStation or open up a credit card. Just buy a fucking 4060.
I'm not buying a fucking PlayStation. Eric told me to buy a PlayStation when I brought this issue to the table, and I was insulted. Like, I'm gonna buy a PlayStation to play Helldivers.
People buy consoles for one game all the time. I don't know what your hang-up is.
Listen, I enjoyed Helldivers from what I've played so far. If it worked, I'd be playing it with you guys.
For the 15 minutes it ran.
It is not a console mover for me, and I would hate looking myself in the mirror more than I already do if I bought a PlayStation 5 to occasionally play Helldivers. Fuck that.
Historically speaking, what has been a console mover for you? I know my 3.
Super Smash Brothers.
That's one.
That's about it for me.
I can't remember what I bought a PlayStation 4 for. Because I bought Uncharted 4 and the collection, and then I returned the PlayStation when I was done with Uncharted 4, and then much later got a PlayStation. So I can't say I've been moved to buy a PlayStation console in a while.
I mean, Halo was a huge one. Like Halo 2 on the original Xbox was a console mover for me. Halo 3 on the 360 was another one, and then the original Uncharted on PS3, which ironically plays like ass if you go back and play it today. It's awful. It's so bad. But every other Uncharted after that has been a fucking masterpiece. So
yeah, I'll be honest, no console has really gotten my attention where it's like there's a game on it, I gotta have it, except for like Joe said, Smash Brothers. But at that point, I already had a Switch. But it's like. We've had this conversation way back, even on the original podcast, where it's just like you have your main console where you buy all the games for, then maybe you buy the Nintendo console if you like the Nintendo games, and then much later you buy the competing console at a much lower price. This generation has been so iffy with games and exclusives that it's like I'm not
on both consoles.
I have no need to buy a PlayStation 5. But anyway, aside from Helldivers, Joe, you been playing anything else, or has it really just been Helldivers?
That's the only thing I've seen him on Steam. Like whenever I log in, it's always Helldivers.
He just leaves the game running because he's a show. Like he likes to flex on people.
I do leave it running a lot, but I've obviously been playing it more than anything else. I've played a couple other things. Played Warframe. There was that game Content
You always
Warning.
play Warframe.
Yeah, you know, I mean the usual. But there's a Content Warning came out.
Warning?
It was It's this game. You've obviously heard of Lethal Company, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it basically this publisher Landfall, which according to a lot of the reviews for this game, they're very famous for including very goofy looking physics in their game, and it's basically a Lethal Company-esque game where like you go with like 4 other people. There's like it's like a proximity chat kind of based thing, and you go into like a spooky area, and there's your objective is allegedly to basically record you and your friends interacting in this like what is essentially like a like a haunted, like abandoned warehouse, or there's like a couple of different structures that can put you into, and there's a
Is
bunch
it
of
a horror
monsters.
game?
Is it what?
Is it a horror game? Like,
It's
is it
it's
just
like
straight
it's
up
like one of
horror
those
game?
what do they call them, where it's like a group of people in horror situations, but it's really about the shit you get into together. What do they call that? It's like it's not an official genre.
I don't know. I don't know.
Swear there was a term for it. It's not asymmetrical horror, but it's something else.
See, the thing is, like, I would. It's like it's got its own genre now, so I would say that it deserves one, like, but I don't know what the fuck you would call
Steam
it.
is so filled with like their own subgenres. It's crazy.
But it's
Lethal Company is described as a cooperative survival horror video game, but I feel like survival horror doesn't really cover it because it's more like a roguelike, like a survival roguelike kind of thing.
I've never played it, so I can't really speak to that.
so in Lethal Company, your objective is you go into like abandoned structures and you pick up random useless shit for a company that like basically doesn't value your life, and you have to bring it back to the ship and like escape with it. Otherwise, like you lose everything that was on the ship, and that's where the roguelike comes from. Content warning is like kind of, you don't really have to get anything, but you have to like record stuff happening because it's basically like a YouTuber kind of idea.
Jesus.
Like like it's almost like you're creating basically like found footage with your friends, and you're like, one person has the camera, everybody else has like whatever other equipment like flashlights, a boom mic that doesn't really do anything. You can get like tasers and shit like that. It's like it's stupid, and it's like it's not very deep, but it's also a blast. It's pretty fun.
As Anthony and I have said for fucking decades now, gameplay is king. So as long as it's fun.
Yeah, and isn't it still free? I think it was free. That's why everybody's got it now.
It was free on April 1st, and they apparently
that's shitty.
They gave it out free to 6 million people.
Jesus
and
Christ!
Now it's $8. So that's six. You can multiply by $8 by 6 million, and God fucking damn, dude.
Wait. So hold on. They gave out a trial, or
no? It was just free. It was like free for that day.
Yeah.
Okay, but then what does the 6 million people have to do with
6
$8?
million people took advantage of that opportunity, and he's saying that
he just gave the money away. Okay.
That's basically what Joe's getting at, is like that's like that essentially. But I mean, I doubt all 6 million would have bought it anyway. I'm sure there's plenty of people that are just gonna have it sitting in their Steam library. They're never gonna fucking touch it.
All right, cool. Well, that's
because I've been meaning to play it too. We'll play it at a certain point. What about you, Dan?
I mean, I'll spend $8 on it. Like, if it's fun, I don't care.
We're gonna try it, and then if it's like really fun and we get really hooked into it, I'll shoot you a line, and we'll see about that. We'll see if it's worth your time and money. But so that's what Joe's been doing. What have you been doing, Dan?
Well, I have also been playing a healthy amount of Helldivers. It's slowed down a little bit for me in the past couple days, but I still been playing it a decent amount. I went back to Halo Infinite like a lot recently, and this is the first time that we've dipped our toe into the custom game scene. Holy shit. It's been as much fun as I remember Forge being back in Halo 3. It's been really good. Like, it breathed new life into the game. You actually need to come and play, because it is really elevated the fun factor just for Halo, and just like having fun while playing games with friends, full stop. We played we found 2 Lord of the Rings maps. Somebody literally made a full 2-scale Minas Tirith map, and I set up a custom legendary firefight game mode on that map, and it's like a maximum of 16 players, and I just left it open, and it was an army of Spartans fighting against the Covenant on Minas Tirith with unlimited grapples and vehicles, and like, it's just wild shit.
It's so
and
funny.
What? Just that in general?
It just feels like every time there's like a community like for a video game is like that, like a multiplayer game. It's like they're opening up to like modding. It's like it's one of the first things that everybody's just adds is fucking minutes to it. Like it was in Mordhau. It feels like it was in
We
fucking Counter Strike. It was like in everything. Oh
we
man.
did a Helm's Deep one also.
Or
That was
Helm's Deep,
pretty
that's what I
dope.
was
And
thinking of.
then
Yeah.
that's the most common.
That was pretty awesome also. So Infinite has been a big fixture right now. I went back to Rebirth as well because that just came out the other day. And last night was actually the most fun I've had in Warzone in quite some time just because of Rebirth. I was playing with Joey and 2 of his friends, and we just got into some shit. So that was a good time. But I could place like a ceiling on the fun I'll have in Warzone.
I mean, obviously.
It won't get past a certain point. And then beyond that, I've also gotten back into Darktide as well. But it actually leads me into my first topic.
Hold on, I didn't talk about what I wanted to play. God, or what I've played.
All right, fine. I mean, this is a perfect segue.
I mean, listen.
Please,
If you want to
Anthony,
segue into it, fine. When I played, whatever. I played Dragon's Dogma 2.
I don't fucking care about you.
Listen, I played Dragon's Dogma 2 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Fine, we can talk about the fucking Darktide shit. Go.
How has Dragon's Dogma been? I've been meaning to ask you about this.
I've been loving it. Like it hit a point where I'm just like, oh, I'm probably at like, like halfway in. It's time for things to change in the world, kind of like it did in Dragon's Dogma 1, and it surprised me by opening up an entire new region for me to explore, and I'm just like,
oh Jesus Christ,
amazing. So I am enjoying it quite a bit. I haven't played it since they rolled out an update for Xbox, which apparently improves the performance, which wasn't really bothering me as much, but I could notice it. But I have been enjoying it quite a bit. It is way harder than Dragon's Dogma 1, which is surprising. I wasn't expecting them to raise the difficulty like that. Yeah, which is why, like, I have a few people who've asked me, like, "Oh, I hear it's a lot of fun. Should I play it?" And I'm just sitting there going, "This is going to filter people if I just say, oh yeah, it's a fun RPG." Like, you almost need to handle Dragon's Dogma with the same kind of
Don't say Dark Souls. Don't say Dark Souls.
I have to say it because it's the only comparable thing. It doesn't play like Dark Souls. Joe knows this because he played Dragon's Dogma 1. Me and him love Dragon's Dogma 1, but it doesn't play like Dark Souls, but it is harder than your average action RPG. That's the best way I can put it. And I am enjoying it quite a bit. But
I don't think it's my speed, but I'm happy you are enjoying it.
Yeah. In what way, what, Joe?
And like, in what way is it harder? Like, for example, I'm curious.
Enemies seem to hit harder. You spend more time in that, like, things are out-leveled. Things out-level you. You spend more time in that kind of zone. And climbing and grabbing, I don't want to say it's sluggish, but it's not as free as it was in the first one. Like, in the first one, you could pull some crazy shit with, like, grabbing, letting go, jumping off of things. There seems to be like a cap, so you can't cheese it. Like, you can't be on top of a giant monster wailing on it, and then right as they're about to do something, jump off to like avoid all the damage. Like, they kind of like curb that a little bit, where like they don't want you to cheese it as much. And overall, it just adds to it. Like, it's a very solid experience, but it's more challenging than 1. That's all.
Yeah, I remember the stamina management in the first game being like just kind of a huge pain in the ass. Like, that's why I used to have to like use consumables like mid combat to try and
there's still plenty of that, but there are more moves that, like, instead of taking stamina, take health, or like are abilities where you're supposed to drain stamina from your enemies. But yeah, so it's for me, it's been a lot of that. I've been enjoying it quite a bit, and I like all the modern fighting games. I'm still playing those, but I've been playing a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 just because I can't seem to fucking escape that game. And that's all I have to say about that. Man. Yeah, I fucking love them. All right, let's go. Let's do your now awkward segue into Darktide.
Your fault, not mine.
Listen, I can't be overlooked. I want to talk about it. I like games too, all right? I've been playing games and I've been having fun. You can't do this to me. Go ahead.
So Darktide got a new blog post today, actually, that they're making a new, what they're calling Path of Redemption update coming late this month. And I am very, very excited for it. Some of the new things that they are adding include, but they are not limited to, a new free way to collect rewards, a new vendor in the home-based ship, the Morningstar, over 200 new penances, over 100 new earnable rewards, all for free. They're adding titles to the game, new puzzles and missions, new enemy, a new condition for the runs themselves, and you can finally change your fucking name. It's about time.
I didn't need to, but I'm surprised that wasn't a feature in the first place.
I'm actually very happy with I have 4 characters, one of each class, and I'm happy with all of them, with the exception of my veteran. I ended up naming him Gomer Pyle, but I just finished a Warhammer 40K book, and Anthony, you know this better than most. Like I love the 40K universe. It's fucking awesome to me.
You've definitely been deep diving into it, just across the few gaming offerings that have been put out there.
Yeah.
What you've been used to.
I have to really like something to read a fucking book. So yeah, I finished the first Gaunt's Ghosts novel. It's just like it follows a platoon of Imperial guardsmen that were the last surviving military unit from their planet. The planet was wiped out. But I wanted to rename my veteran to the main character of the book, and I can't. But now this is coming at the end of the month, so I'll finally be able to. I'm very, very happy about this. I have, what is it at now? 146.9 hours in Darktide, and I'm probably going to sink a lot more in now that this is happening. So I'm very excited about that. They are, I mean, like I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, they support Vermintide 2 very heavily over the course of several years. They added a PvP mode. Like, they're going to do a lot of shit to Darktide, and I'm definitely here for it.
It's interesting that you bring up Vermintide, because Joe is the person I played Vermintide with, and I remember him and me kind of being frustrated with what the offerings were, or like, Joe, do you remember any of that? Like, what was wrong with Vermintide?
You played when it first launched, or
yeah, we played it when it was very early in its life.
Around the time it like first came out. I was super into it because I was still like, I thought like Left 4 Dead was like the coolest thing ever, and it seemed just like that, but like medieval, like it had like all these new characters and new weapons you could mess around with, and I like that one the one character, I can't remember his name. He was the dude, he's got like he sounds like Nigel Thornberry, but he's got a rapier and a gun.
I actually know
also
which one
like
you're talking about with like the funny hat.
Isn't he also like casually racist to like elves, or is that just everybody in Vermintide?
Warhammer is just a universe of racism, Anthony.
Yeah, Warhammer is like fucked up, but they
like Age of Sigmar and 40K.
Yeah, but they're like yeah, I remember him sounding really weird, and I hated that, and I didn't like the way he looked. He was bald, but I liked the rapier and gun gameplay, and I thought it was pretty fun. I think like towards the higher difficulties I was getting a little frustrated. I can't remember.
I actually ended up I bought Vermintide 2 when it was on sale like a year or two ago. I ended up buying the like the Dwarven Engineer pack or something. It was like $3 and they gave me a minigun. And I was happy with that. But haven't been playing it for a while.
There's a minigun in Vermintide?
Yeah, it's exclusive to the dwarf character, but it's like his special ability, and you need to spool it up every time you want to. No, the mechanic is like it's a crank action gun, so you can fire it, right? But there's a heating mechanic. So you have to like get the heat to the very end of the bar and then hold the reload key. So then he'll like twist this cooling knob like 5 times, and every time you twist it, it gives you an extra stack of cooling so that it'll like the heat will dissipate faster. And you have to, it's like a little mental mini game as you're playing the run. And you need to keep an eye on that as you're using the minigun. But it's like his special ability, and then he also gets a range and a melee weapon. So it's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of looking at it now. Man, they added a lot of DLC to this game.
They did. Yeah, they supported it a shit ton. And that's why I'm very hopeful for Darktide, because I feel like they're just going to do the same thing, and there's so much shit to draw from in Warhammer, both in like the fantasy version and the sci-fi version. So I'm very, very excited. I'm definitely going to be playing a lot more of Darktide, and it's on Game Pass. We should definitely play it.
I
can
I
wrangle
was
one
thinking,
more.
we've played it before. I
is
I
it
had fun with it.
is it crossplay or?
Yeah, it is. They
Yeah.
added that too.
Oh wow. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
because I was considering picking it up because I like the 40K universe a lot.
You messaged me the other day actually asking about the community. I'm like, all right, this is out of the blue.
Yeah, well, I was mainly like I was like, what happens if I buy this game and I don't have anyone to play with? Like, what's it like playing by yourself or
Right.
you know?
I
So
mainly play solo. Like, and people are actually. I was playing last night, and there was this guy that was doing like this obscene amount of damage to a demon host, which is like, so the demon host is this boss enemy in the game that they sprinkle in throughout the runs, and there's only one, two at max throughout the hardest difficulties. So they're sleeping, right? And that's how you run up on them. So if you
right,
like bump into one, it'll levitate in the air. That's like your first warning. And then if you deal any kind of damage to it after it wakes up, then it starts to attack you. And they're really tanky. And they end up singling out one player out of the squad, and they'll it's like basically a one-hit kill if it grabs you and it's like telekinetic grip thing. I don't know what the actual name of the
so it's
move
like
is, but
it's like the witch from Left 4 Dead.
yeah, it's almost like it even looks like the witch from Left 4 Dead. But this guy I was playing with last night, he was definitely playing as a zealot because he had a bonk hammer with him, which is just a thunder hammer. And he was one-shotting these fucking things, and I'm like, I don't know how this is even possible. So I messaged him in the game chat, and I asked him, and he was really nice about it. He told me exactly how he did it. And my point being, the community is fine. Like, if you're gonna play solo, which is how I normally play, people are generally very helpful, and they like the main objective is to finish the run. And if you're playing on higher difficulties, people generally don't. I say they don't fuck around, but they also, it's not like they're gonna be a dick about it. They just want to finish it. So
Right.
it's good. The community is solid. I like it.
Yeah, I can see that a lot of the recent reviews for it are pretty high.
Yeah.
They're
It
says it's mostly
launched in a
positive.
very rough state.
Yes, that's why I actually don't own it because I was heavily considering the game when it very first came out, and then I saw all of the reviews and I was like, well, maybe I should wait a little bit. Now I
Yeah.
can see that it's getting love, and that's great because I
Yeah.
was excited for it before it came out.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, it's crossplay, so it's on Xbox and PlayStation. So Anthony could play with us on his Xbox, and
Mhm.
we can wrangle one more. We've had a full squad at times. It's a lot of fun,
It's-
and
it's
they
definitely
added
doable.
they have these
Is there
things called auric missions where it's like people have figured out how to breeze through the damnation runs, which are the highest difficulty in the regular mode, which is generally what I play on. But these auric runs, they have like 5 different fucking modifiers on the mission in addition to being a damnation difficulty. And some of these people that put together certain builds are just fucking bunk. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. So there's a lot of replayability to it. So you should
Alright.
definitely
Yeah.
play Darktide.
I think I might pick it up. I
I
can
just
see that
geeked
there's
out real hard on it.
there's some Kriegsman stuff in it too. I think. The
Oh yeah,
Kriegsmen are
yeah.
really
Krieg is
cool.
a big faction, cosmetically. What do you got, Anthony? What do you want to talk about today?
Oh, so moving on, the last couple weeks, I tend to keep an eye on the industry and the things that are changing and going on. So there's a couple things that have been stirring a little bit. And one thing I figured,
Yourself.
I talk to a lot of degenerates online, I guess you could say, and I talk to a lot of regular people, and I talk to, I won't say which pool the two of you fall into, but I guess so. Have either of you heard about this game coming out called Stellar Blade?
Yes, I hear it's been popping up on my Google and YouTube feeds a lot recently. I've watched no gameplay, although I've heard
Okay.
generally positive things. I don't know what it is though.
Okay, and what about you, Joe?
Why does it ring bells? Is that the like first person kind of like DMC game, or am I thinking of something else?
No, you're thinking of something else. So what Stellar Blade is, and it was originally, I think it was titled Project Eve was the original title. It was announced a while ago. I want to say at least a year. I think it was announced earlier or around the same time that Helldivers 2 was, and it all kind of blurs together to me. So it's this action RPG. It's kind of like a Souls-like, but not really. It's got a little bit more combat going on. I'm going off of watching videos and seeing previews, because unfortunately, after it was announced, Sony kind of swooped in and did like an exclusivity deal, so I'm not going to be able to play it, at least not out of the gate. But it's basically an action RPG, kind of like a Souls or a Sekiro type kind of thing, and it's been getting a shit ton of attention. It's by these Korean guys that are kind of outside this realm of, you know, Western shit, and, you know, Japan, which is kind of like dealing with its own censorship stuff going on at the time, and people have been fighting over this game nonstop because of its fan service. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in like the last 10 years or so, there's been kind of like this push against fun and fan service and a whole big push for inclusivity.
No one is allowed to have any fun. Fuck you, pay me.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but like things have kind of been rocky the last decade or so. And one of the things that just constantly gets pelted on is fan service in a game. You know, you can't have attractive looking women anymore, you know, because it's something that's easy to target, because your average guy isn't going to stand up and say like, hey, I like attractive women in my video games, because then immediately that has like a whole fucking stigma around it where you kind of get ridiculed.
I don't like this.
Yeah. So basically, go ahead.
I googled Stellar Blade to like look up what it was, and I like the third image on the list was like it's just butt cheeks.
Yes, because here's the thing. So every now and again, a game will come out with like a female protagonist that obviously has a very sexual lean. Way back, it was Bayonetta when she came out, and she had her whole thing, and journalists hated her, and then the game came out, and people enjoyed the game because it's platinum, and they were good at action games once, so people like were just like, okay, we're okay with Bayonetta. And then Nier Automata came out, and you had 2B. And like I
tried to get into Nier Automata or Automata, however you want to say it. I tried to get into it, and I think I owe it to myself to try again, because I didn't think it was bad. I just kind of stopped playing it. It was probably during the height of my Destiny addiction, to be honest with you. But I mean, it was cool. It kind of reminded me of Kingdom Hearts in a sense.
It is an action RPG, not in the Souls vein. So that was something I was excited for. Just not to go too far off track. Nier Automata kind of actually disappointed me. I wasn't a huge fan of the story. I couldn't get through it. I wasn't enjoying it. And I think one of the problems is it has like very cool combat, but it's hindered by RPG elements. So like all the cool combo videos you see, it's not the optimal way to play the game. Like you need to handicap yourself to do those cool combos. So it's a little different than like... You said Kingdom Hearts. That's a good example that manages to balance between the combos you can do and like the scaling, so you're not immediately killing things or handicapping yourself to do those combos. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But basically, Nier Automata came out. You have 2B, which is, I don't know if you guys remember, but it's just like that entire game, in my opinion, is carried by that character's ass. Because it's literally, that's all anybody was talking about. You had people were drawing the fan art and the porn and whatnot, and the developer, the lead creator of the series, says like, I heard, you know, rumors about all this artwork going around, you know, and I've got to say, you know, if anybody could just bundle that into an archive and send it to me on a weekly basis, that'd be great. So you had people like ripping on him and attractive women again, and the game comes out, and then it's like, everybody loves it, so it's enshrined and you can't talk about it. And now that we're so far along in this kind of thing where it's just like you can't have attractive women, the women are made uglier intentionally when they have these face scan models in AAA games and whatnot. So you have this game with an attractive female character again, and the talks are coming out again. Only this time it's like they're trying to make it weirder than normal. All the detractors are like, there's a weird aura around the game. It's like you can't even criticize it. And I'm just sitting here going, these guys have been ripping on it. They want it to fail because they just want like these games and these ugly characters, because that's like the message. That's what's being pushed right now. But it looks like again, it's just going to be and at least a decent game because everybody's played the demo now and everybody seems to like it. I unfortunately can't give you a first-hand experience. I would very much like to try it. Much like Nier Automata, I saw the first trailer. I'm like, that looks like something I want to play. And then something just screws me over down the line. But so now that everybody's had a chance to play, it's at a standstill because beforehand everyone was just going, oh, it's just for people who have never seen a woman before. Oh, it's just for the weirdos online to play and shit like that. And
I'm looking at the Google Images page for Stellar Blade right now, and this is fucking ripe for what the hell is that internet rule? Rule 34?
Rule 34. Oh my god.
Yeah.
The way you fucking said that. Just like, what's that? You sounded like like you added 40 years of age to your soul when you said it that way.
I don't exactly use that phrase.
No, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
It's just a miracle that I got that number right, okay?
I just find it hysterical because it's just like, you're into like all these different, gaming, entertainment cultures, all this kind of stuff, but like that's like one of your like the underbelly of certain things is just beyond you. It's like you go full boomer when you hit that. It's honestly it's a little funny, but also a little endearing. But anyway, so basically it's
full boomer.
Yeah, but it's so you have all these content creators, which are scum, by the way. Content creators are scum.
Yeah.
And then you have all the journalists. No, what we're doing here is art. All right.
Oh yeah, this is art. Okay.
And then you also have the journalists coming out and like IGN, like wrote a hit piece.
Oh,
like,
here we go.
Like IGN, I think it was IGN France. They wrote something that's like, if you like this game, you should probably have your hard drive checked. I'm just like, whoa,
oh my God,
what the fuck?
Fuck
and
off.
Mainline
I don't
IGN.
even know the context behind that, but you saying that IGN put that out, I'm like, okay.
But here's the thing, Dan, the crazy thing is the damage control, because IGN Core came out and said like, oh, that's the opinions of IGN France. They've apologized, and also we don't have any control over IGN France anyway. I'm just like, then what kind of company are you that you don't have control over that? What's the whole point of being IGN branded if you don't have some degree of communication? But anyway, and I find it funny because they're just like, oh, the guys who made this game have never seen a woman before. Meanwhile,
it's a cesspool.
Yeah, it is a cesspool. It's ridiculous. And the one thing that drives me nuts about this is I've seen pictures of this woman and I've seen pictures of the character she's supposed to represent, and it's like nearly 1-to-1, maybe touched up a little bit to even make her look better. And I just immediately think to all the AAA games that have come out in like the last 5 years where it's like you see the model of the woman and it's just like, okay, perfect, and face scanning has come so far, and then they scan her in and they make her look like dog shit. Like, do you remember the character Alloy from Horizon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in Horizon 2, they like bloated her face up and they added like really faint facial hair to her. It's if you haven't, you need to see like a close up of her face because she looks like a fucking potato. I don't know what the fuck they did. And then you look at the concept art for the game and it's like, oh, it's not even like hypersexualized. It's just like it's almost like a fantasy looking thing.
First image.
Yes, so you see it.
First image.
So you see it. And then, but like I said, you look at the concept art and it looks like a nice character, not hypersexualized, just a good looking character. And then you look at the person they scanned in and she's a good looking girl. And it's like, what the fuck happened? The only explanation is that they make these characters worse on purpose, because if you look at a male character scanned in, they don't have the same problem. They just look like dudes. And they look like
I was going to add that.
Yeah, exactly.
They use the model for the character from Assassin's Creed, Desmond.
Mm-hmm.
They used the model for that guy, and he didn't. It could have just been like a hardware limitation sort of thing, but however, or maybe it was just a style thing. They made a lot of the characters in the first game look really weird, but as the game went on, they really started to make him look a lot more like the person they initially wanted to base his appearance off of, which I thought was really cool. And he ended up actually looking better within each iteration, except for the one where they were saying that he's been in the anime so long that he's actually put on a little bit of weight, which makes sense. Because he's basically laying down for months at a time.
But Yeah, so it's like this technology, like face scanning technology, has been around for a long time. I think the oldest game I can think of that uses it, and this isn't a hard confirmation, it's just my personal experience, is Half-Life 2. Because I remember when Source was new, I remember seeing like images of the guy who played G-Man, and they had like the lines drawn on his face and stuff like that. So this technology has been around for a while, and like Joe just said, it's steadily improved, and the goal was, in most cases, to make them look more accurate to the person they face scan, but they also took liberties to make the character like work for the game. And it's just like at a certain point, like they subverted this. I just don't get it. And it's like one thing if you like are using that scanned face as like a baseline, right? And then it's just like you use artistry to kind of get that character that you see out of this scanned person. But that's not what they're doing. They're just making these people uglier. It's nuts to me. I told you about Alloy. Did you see what they did to Mary Jane going from Spider-Man 1 to Spider-Man 2?
Oh boy, hold on.
Google that right now. It's gonna blow your fucking mind.
Mary Jane.
Yeah, and
Spider-Man game Mary Jane.
Yeah, Spider-Man 2 game Mary Jane. Yeah.
Okay, Spider-Man 1. So what? Whoa, what happened there?
Yeah, I was thinking
it's like
why? Like, there's no reason to do that.
I know, and it's not. I don't fucking get it. And the funny thing is, Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 have the person who does the voice of Black Cat is actually a notorious writer in the industry who is very hardcore feminist and hates these things. Yeah, we did talk about her. She's the I got raped in GTA 5 chick.
Oh my God.
And yes, and like if you look, her self-insert in the Spider-Man games is fucking Black Cat. And this chick isn't much of a looker. I'm not gonna like hyper judge and say you're ugly or anything, because she's just average, and like it's the ugliness comes from the soul coming out of the eye. It's that kind of thing. But if you look at her and then you look at Black Cat, you'll notice it's not really off. It's like closer to 1-to-1 than whatever the fuck they did to Mary Jane. So it's like there's very deliberate tweaks going on behind the scenes to make the woman look this way. And I think we're starting to see pushback with me and you, Dan, we love to talk about AA developers, right? That's kind of what a Stellar Blade is. And you can see that people want to make just good looking characters. And I'm not the kind of guy that says people like to say, make these ridiculous, the most ridiculous thing I hear, and it's something that's hyper around fighting games, is like whenever you say like what happened, why the characters used to be attractive, or why did they change the character post launch, you'll have all these fucking mongoloids online. They'll just go up to you, like, I don't play video games to come, bro. And it's just like it's not about that. It's just you want good looking characters, and it's very clear that there's a deliberate push to make it to make them as ugly and inclusive as possible. And I think we're making strides in that, but at the same time, Microsoft's like internal thing. There's a website on Microsoft's site where they put out memos to like developers to like encourage certain behaviors, and they're just like, they do the whole race thing, and they have this whole bullshit poll where it's just like 60% of gamers will literally put down a game if it doesn't represent them. And I'm just like, well, this number's bullshit. There's no way in hell that's true. I'm not retarded. And then like they have like a list of do's and don'ts. It's like, listen, maybe you should elevate people of color and women, but if you do women, they can't be curvy or attractive. And I'm just like, why are you?
Let me tell you something.
Why are you
Not
doing
everybody
this to
needs to see themselves in literally fucking everything.
Yeah,
like,
it's just
there's a reason why people go to the movies to watch Captain America beat the fuck out of people, okay? Because they can't do that themselves. They're fucking 200 pounds overweight. They don't have a job, living in their parents' base. Like, fucking enough. You don't have to see yourself in everything. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's diluting everything. It's a mind virus, and
it's killing creativity. You know my biggest gripe is it's annoying as like a consumer, so to speak, or somebody who likes to play these games and watch these movies and all this shit, but it crushes me to see creativity subverted, because there's a story going on right now of what's the game called? It's called it's an Xbox exclusive coming out, I think. It's by Compulsion
Hellblade?
Games. No, it's what the fuck is it called? It's like something in the Deep South, like magic in the Deep South or something like that. And there's a whole expose kind of thing going on right now where it's like it was some guy's passion project
South
or something.
of Midnight?
South of Midnight. There you go. South of Midnight. And there's a whole thing going on right now where like you're finding out like this was one guy's idea, but then they got all these community managers and consultants in, and now it's just like, oh, they completely changed the character. It used to be just, you know, some normal white chick. Now it's like, you know, a girl boss black chick that kind of looks like one of the consultants and community managers that came in, and they're changing all the story bits and whatnot. And what you're hearing from the inside is the devs that were originally there are either too scared to speak up or don't want to be bothered with online arguments. So these people are just uprooting this game, which was allegedly, like I said, a passion project from one guy. It would be like if Hi-Fi Rush.
That's tragic.
Yeah, that is tragic. And it's, I'm looking at a tweet right now. This person is saying shit like, you know, oh, you know, I'm proud to announce I joined the team. You know, that's like the introduction there. And then you look at the personal tweets, it's like, honestly, I hate gamers. I'm like, why are you here? Why are you near any game? I don't care if it's community manager or consultant hire. I don't give a shit. You shouldn't be anywhere near games. It's ridiculous.
I think the issue with so many of these people is that here's the thing about video games is I consider
They're
video
not real.
games well, they're not real, and I consider them art. So to be more precise, like I guess if you're gonna criticize something that is supposed to be artistic, right? Like you can't really criticize art on the merit of like what it is, rather than like maybe, I guess, for example, maybe like what it represents or something. So like basically what I'm trying to say is like if someone who made something, like say I drew a picture and you don't like the way it looks, like you can just you can't like say that like I should have drawn it differently because that's what you would have preferred. You can say that like for the way a video game is, like how a video game should be concerned is like you can criticize like maybe the gameplay isn't fun or something like that, but if you don't like the way something looks, then like you can't just say it should just be different, because that's like that is like one of the most artistic parts of it. You can't like just say like it doesn't make sense to criticize something like based on the way it looks.
This goes back to my, you know, people don't see themselves in every fucking hero in every game.
Right. But
so,
and that's not.
Does it serve the story? No, fuck off. Move on. Like
the other thing is that like people who look like this actually exist, because this is what I was saying about that Desmond character is like they like obviously the technology got better. He went from looking like in the first game, he went from looking like fucking Adam Sandler into like basically looking like he turned into like a fucking supermodel, which is who he was based off of. Francisco Randez, and they made him look better. They made him look more handsome. And like I don't have to be gay to say that this guy looks fucking good. He's a handsome dude, you know, like he's a good looking guy. I'm sorry, you know, all right. So, and that's fine. It's okay that they did that.
You don't want to see a hideous protagonist in your story that's supposed to be the hero. Like
if someone, like that's what I mean. Like I think that if someone made a protagonist that was hideous right off the bat without any kind of like other intervention, that's what they wanted to do. If you made them attractive, that's what you wanted to do. You see what I'm saying? Like, so if they made this character in Stellar Blade attractive, and that's what they did from the start, and you know, if it was a scan of the person who exists or whatever, right? Like, you can't say that this person doesn't exist, or they can't like sexualize them or do whatever the fuck they want, because those are their artistic decisions. That's like their decision. That's what they did. Like Anthony was just saying, this person had a passion project made by one person or whatever, and they have
or the concept was at least built from one person up. Like it's right. You know, you lead a project of people to get the game that you want to make.
So this guy made it or whatever, or any. Basically, the point I'm trying to get at is that like people should leave things the way they are and let people do what they want with what they create. If you're going to criticize it, you can say the game sucks based on other things, like the gameplay being shit, or maybe it's filled with a bunch of bugs or something, and maybe you could just say, or you could approach it with like less criticism that's like, I guess criticism that's a little more concise or like articulated, like I don't like this about this or that about that. But like to say that like it should just be different and then to change it during development or to demand those changes based on something totally unrelated to what this thing is in the first place is just unreasonable. It's not.
Well,
It's not.
the world
It's
is filled with
disrespectful.
unreasonable people.
It's
Unfortunately.
disrespectful of the art itself. That's what I guess what I'm trying to say.
I obviously agree with everything that you're saying. It's just the fact that like that's not the world we live in is all it's all run by money. Games are extremely expensive to make, as we all know, and
Right.
if the people that are involved in the foundational decision makings of the process get squeezed to change X, Y, and Z thing, or else the funding will be pulled. Ergo, they are not going to make their return on the investment that they initially invested on. Like, then if they don't see it as that big of a deal or a deal breaker, whatever, that thing is going to get changed. Like Anthony and I have been talking about this whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing for the past like month at this point, and it's just fucking crazy. Like the how deep it goes, and the money that's exchanged, and the influence that's exerted, and it's wild. Yeah. It's absolutely wild, especially in the AAA space, because they are hook, line, and sinker beholden to the investors and the shareholders. And unless you control the thing that makes the thing, being the game, then you're going to have to bend to the will, which like this whole civil war online right now that's unfolding with this Sweet Baby Inc. thing is actually fucking fascinating, because the gamers are like, nope, fuck you, don't fuck with my games. Like, and they're basically making this whole digital uprising, which is commendable and admirable to watch, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was watching it. I thought it was pretty funny too when I found out about it. I was like, I saw that one Steam group that popped up. I think I linked it to Ark like instantly the second I found it.
Yeah, we definitely talked about it. I don't know if that was the first time I saw it or if I had seen it beforehand, but we definitely talked about it. It's
wild
because
stuff.
It used to be like, we talked about this. It's like corporations making like boneheaded decisions from the top and influencing games the wrong way, and that's like the worst you had to deal with. It happened to Dead Space, it happened to Mass Effect, where you just had overreach from the top down that just harmed games, and like that's one thing, right? That's budgetary stuff. But now in the last 10 years, last 5 years really is where it started peaking, is you have that same corporate mentality, but now they're being they are beholden to funds that can only be acquired by cultural shifts that are unnatural, and they have to hire people that are bought in and drinking that particular Kool-Aid to come in. So it's like, it's the worst part of outside culture meeting the oldest, like, business guy at the top not understanding his who he's selling to, just kind of coming together, dovetailing in like the worst possible way. But right. I do think that
it is, and it really is all like super unfortunate, because I feel like when you have something that you've made and you change it to suit what these guys like basically are asking for, it really does just kind of like in a way kind of kill the soul of what you've created.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
it hurts like earnest creators making these things, and it hurts if it's a new property, potential new fans who were enamored with your original idea, or if it's a legacy series, it just completely fractures and splinters your existing foundation and base, which is what happened with like more than a few. Like, yeah, like you'll have situations where like even though you're making these terrible decisions, you have these terminally online people that are bought in, and like people that say like, I'm a fan of this, and then they never play it, but they like the changes being done to it because they hate you, and that's happened with like, I feel like that happened with Battlefield to a certain degree. but it didn't really gain much traction. It happened.
Battlefield is the perfect example of a game that I wish I was more into.
Yeah,
especially with all the changes that they made recently. But like every time I re-download it and go to play, I'm just like, eh.
Oh
Yeah,
man, I have things to say about that game. I am mad.
Yeah,
I could rant. The length. Listen, that game is just. You know what? Just continue what you're gonna say. I
want to hear this. I want to hear this because
go for it if you want.
I used to be all about Battlefield. Remember, Anthony? I would come over and I would play Bad Company 2 like by myself, and you would just be playing something else, and like that would just be our night. I loved Bad Company 2. It was the best Battlefield game I've ever played, and
the last good Battlefield game, in my opinion, was Battlefield 1. That was the last one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Which is definitely more recent.
Yeah.
It like relative to everything. Like it's definitely one of the more recent ones. So, but that was the last good one. And like I'm not even saying that based on like me just kind of like thinking World War I is pretty cool. Like just thinking the aesthetic and all like the look and everything.
That game came out 8 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
That's insane.
That's
2016.
Actually, I thought it was more. I thought it was like 4 or 5 years ago. Jesus Christ.
No.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Jeez, I'm fucking old. So So listen, Battlefield 1 was a good game because it had like everything that like made Battlefield game. It was just everyone was just a grunt. Nobody like had all this customization. Like you could customize your guns or whatever. Just small, subtle shit that nobody ever really noticed.
Like 2 times zoom on the World War I fucking repeating rifle.
Right.
Was barely accurate to begin with.
Right. They have like all these little tweaks, like weird guns that you could pick, like experimental shit that they may have tried here or there and historically, whatever. And like that's to make it like a little more interesting. That's what they did, and like it still remained kind of like a historical game. It's not a mil sim like Arma, but it was still a good game.
Their whole War Stories thing, like the single player, like that was very heavily based on actual battles that took place during that time frame, and people loved it. They did nothing with it.
I didn't know that like the RDD existed. I thought that was the fucking coolest shit ever. I thought that was awesome.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Italian shock troops with the armor.
Okay. Oh yeah.
That was that was them.
Oh wow.
They're basically like suicidal. That's like again, that's kind of like where I'm going with like the whole Kriegs thing. Like I just think they're fucking cool. That's so. But anyway, so I was just the thing about Battlefield is like when they added when they were advertising for Battlefield 5, like I was paying attention to the whole conversations, all the conversations around the game because I was again this was the one right after Battlefield 1, so I was very invested at the time, and I was like, they came out with the trailer, and the trailer featured it featured a woman. She was an amputee. She had a fucking,
they would fucking let you fight.
Yeah.
People had to lie about how good their eyesight was already back then.
So they added her, and like not even just her. There was also that one guy with the 2 fucking katanas on his back. I was like, this looks like some John Wick shit. This isn't fucking Battlefield.
Wasn't there like some like hillbilly looking guy with like blue war paint or some shit? Am I misremembering that?
Yeah, no, there probably was.
Good question, actually.
I watched it a couple times because I was just like, what the fuck else stupid shit did I miss in this? But it's been so long since I looked into it. But I remember the discourse being around it being like, why the fuck did they add all this shit? And of course, at the core of this, and I was gonna go back into this, you could tell that when I googled Stellar Blade. The first things are like Google knows what I'm concerned about because the first thing they included was Stellar Blade will not include microtransactions. So it's kind of funny, and of course that's what they were trying to do was they wanted to fuck around with microtransactions allegedly.
So I have the trailer playing next to my Discord window, and we got the amputee woman right with blue war paint under her eyes. She immediately gets shot. Got the black guy with her running up the stairs, the blue war paint as well. I'm waiting for the katanas. Hang on.
What the fuck's up with the blue war paint?
Oh yeah, there he is with the okay. So it's like a Harlem Hellfighter or something with a red beret. He's got a fucking katana on his back. I never noticed that.
Yeah, no, I saw that and I was like, that's the most ridiculous fucking thing I've ever seen. So and they were like, the discourse around this was like, oh, you can't believe that there could potentially be women or whatever, like, and then everyone like started pulling all these fucking random like niche scenarios around, like,
oh, that's
like,
my
oh,
favorite. When they're just like, there was one woman located on the front here, and that's why women were common in World War II.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're like, oh, and if you can't believe that, then like, well, it's just a video game. And I was just like, well, that's just disingenuous. Like, you can't say that because that's like, okay, first of all, like I said, in Battlefield 1, it was just everyone was a grunt. There was like no customization other than your guns. Everyone just looked basically the fucking same. It's part of the game in the first place because that's how you can differentiate, friend from foe. Mm-hmm. But it also kind of like just creates a situation where like you're not at all really focused on like the way your fucking character looks. You're just a random soldier. You die and you don't reappear somewhere else. The guy you were playing as is fucking dead because he died in World War One. And it was. That's
how they opened up the open mission for Battlefield 1. You are not expected to survive.
Right.
And the guy you're playing as dies, and then yeah.
Right. So like as much as I think customization can be cool, I don't think that like it was as important in that game in particular. And they, in my opinion, that's what they were trying to do, was they were trying to sell microtransactions to people so they could get them to look whatever way they wanted and create their own fucking, World War II fucking fictional OC thing. And that's what they were what they were going for. Yeah. So that's what they were trying to do. And to again further be disingenuous, they started the whole like, well, Battlefield was never about being even remotely realistic, and they posted that one fucking GIF that you've probably seen a million times of a guy with a flamethrower standing on the back of a horse. which yeah.
And the top-rated comment on the Battlefield 5 reveal trailer with 8.5 thousand likes is a face-painted woman with a prosthetic arm, a black guy with a katana, and a half-naked Viking-looking guy. ... Yes, this definitely reminds me of World War II.
That's how people reacted. And on top of all the
no
stuff
dislikes. This trailer must have been a banger back then.
and the thing is, and like everyone has seen these like Battlefield like stunt videos. You know what I mean? Like everyone has seen them. Yeah. And I think the thing about fucking Battlefield games is that like everyone's seen them, so that's like the public's image of Battlefield, which is like totally fucking false, because that's not things like that don't.
The charm of Battlefield in that way is the fact that it's not designed to work that way, but you're getting it to work that way. It's not standard play.
Right. It's not even a remotely matchly occurrence. You probably wouldn't even see that once a month if you played the game every single day for like 5 hours on end. Like it just wouldn't fucking happen, because because people aren't trying to do that. Typically they're trying to play the objective and fucking win, if they're not like just death matching and being fucking stupid and killing each other. Like nobody's trying to pull off shit like stunts. That's a YouTube video thing. That's where those things happen. People like pre-plan them and shit like that. But
did you see the launch party for Battlefield 1 or no, Battlefield 5? They had this huge screen up with the tweets with all the
with all the detractors.
Shit. And like, look, I don't think you should conduct yourself in that, but like, don't be a fucking idiot online.
I get that, Dan. I know where you're going with that. I get that.
Yeah.
It's cherry picking, because a bulk of the complaints are always people just saying like, hey, this isn't the game I was expecting. Hey, you're kind of subverting the process. Just because they can find like the one guy willing to say to rip on somebody for being gay or black or for having, or just hates women or all that stuff, because that's very easy to find online. They cherry pick that so hard in order to devalue all of the criticism. It's why you had that one developer saying like, oh, you don't like women. I want to be able to look my daughter in the eye and say that I was on the right side of history on this one.
Exactly.
It's like they will, like, the 95% of people who are complaining about the game because they're interested in the game or loved the series or just want to play the game or they're concerned about the gameplay and how things look and how realistic it is are just they because, and this isn't a shot against you, but they'll get people like you to stop and say like, and listen, I don't approve of this. It's like they cherry picked that in the first place to trip you up and to get you to stop your complaints, your rightful complaints. So it's all bullshit. All of it's bullshit.
And almost to like fall into it, as you remember that one trailer, the trailer that came out after 5 for, what was it, 2042? Was it 2043 or 2040? I can't even remember. 2042. What a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive.
Oh my god. It is like 2042. Like I had been saying, like, listen, imagine, like, you like Titanfall, right? I know you like Titanfall.
We love Titanfall.
Everyone loves Titanfall. Everyone fucking loves that game. And I was thinking, like, oh, it's about fucking time they made a remake or something of 2142 or 2143.
That's right. Yeah, they already had a sci-fi version.
Yes. That, like, and listen, if they wanted to, they would not be adhering to history because it's a futuristic game. They can do whatever the fuck they want, you know? Like they could do whatever they want. And anybody who has anything to say about it can't criticize it at that point, right? That would be their artistic decision. But they ignored that completely, and they made another fucking modern shooter with all this GoPro shit in it. Like it's like the squirrel suit. Like, can you like what is that? Come on.
Listen, this is the battlefield.
The person in this squirrel suit is non-binary. Okay, they officially
non-binary.
confirmed that.
Oh my fucking god.
They
oh
did. That
their
was a
name
thing.
is Sundance. All right. You can't
fucking
remember
eat
those.
his
You
head
can't remember the memorable character Sundance.
I remember the straight white guy with the grappling hook.
I just find it funny that they set it in 2042, like near future, but it's a modern shooter. The main villain, there is no main villain. It's just teams versus teams. It's everybody gets.
Does that make it legal in Russia?
No pets. No pets.
And I think there is no like bad team, but like the gimmick was like global warming and like climate change.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
Like you had like sandstorms and like inclement weather
apart because the planet is angry.
Yes, exactly. That was like the.
To be fair,
okay.
2142. That was the premise of 2142. Was that not a natural disaster sort of thing, that all the fucking tornadoes and shit weren't present in 2142, as far as I'm aware. But the world was freezing. 2142 took place on a mostly like kind of ice age Earth with like very few.
Okay.
Like, but was the main villain of the game? Was it
no. No.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't remember if there was a campaign in 2142 at all.
I never played it. I know it exists. I just never played it.
I played it a little bit, but it got like kind of like shut down. So, but there was I played it a little bit.
I remember they had mechs and like
yes,
these wild fucking vehicles.
Exactly.
And like if they did that with today's technology, oh my god, it would be amazing.
That's what I was saying.
It's a franchise owned by EA, right? So like put Titans in it. How fucking cool would that be?
That's what I was saying. Like here's the things. The thing about Battlefield is what I would say defines it is destructible environments. Yes. You know, just the large scale battles with regular grunts that just they die all the time. Their fucking lives are worthless.
Heroes with fucking shields or flight suits or whatever.
Not stunts, not customization for your fucking character, because you're just another fucking idiot who just dies on the front lines. You know, it's destructible environments and large scale battles. That is what Battlefield is fucking about. And the people, I think the people at the top or whoever are just, they're fucking stupid. So they went and they're just like, we're just gonna put all this fucking GoPro stunt shit in fucking in Battlefield 5 or I'm sorry, 2042.
That's what the whippersnappers like today, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why when you watch the 2042 trailer, you know what they put in it? They fucking reanimate. They CG'd that shit up. They went into fucking Blender or whatever the fuck, and they made that shit. Like they remade that stupid stunt with the the
Oh, the rocket.
with the
Yeah.
rocket and the jet
Exiting
shit.
the jet, shooting the other one, then hopping back in. Yeah.
Right. And listen, like,
And that was
fuck
huge
it.
fan service. They got a fucking standing ovation at E3
Yeah.
or wherever the fuck it was shown.
Like okay, like listen, I I'm happy for the guy that he's, the guy who made that original video. I'm not gonna shit on the little guy. He got, you know what I mean? Like
Well, that was an awesome play.
it was an
Yeah,
awesome play,
he got a
but
nod in the official game. It's nice.
right, but that's not what the game is about. It I hate to like rain on his parade, but it didn't really belong in the trailer, and they shouldn't have based anything off of it because it's just not what the game is about.
No, I see the point that you're trying to make. They were playing at if something like hyper specific that only a handful of fans were really going to remember. Like for the hardcore players, that wasn't even in game. It was a CG trailer, and it's not what the main point of Battlefield is. Like you said, it's destructible environments and huge wide open battles, and it's just not that anymore. A lot of games are just a shell of their former selves now, and it's just the reality that we live in. It's fucking tragic.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, the coolest thing would be like Titans in a fucking Battlefield game, because that's one of the things that was kind of missing from Titanfall, was they didn't really have a lot of like a lot of the buildings were just like you had to navigate kind of around them.
It was just
Titans.
Call of Duty. It was like the natural evolution of what COD could have become. Like, so if you would have 2009, right? Modern Warfare 2 comes out. How old were we back then? Jesus.
2009.
15?
Jeez.
I was able to drive then. So I was like 17, 18.
Okay.
Modern Warfare 2, 2009. I think I was like 17 or 18. Anyway.
Was it 2009? I thought
yeah.
I thought COD 4 came out in 2008.
No, so COD 4 was 07. World at War was 2008. Modern Warfare 2 was 2009.
Okay.
I remember that like very specifically because Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 is like a huge milestone in my gaming life. Like that's when I really, really went head first into shooters. Like that is the game that was like the main fucking catalyst of that becoming my preferred genre. So I remember that very, very well. So COD 4 came out in 2007. Modern Warfare 2 came out in 2009. And if you would have like, okay, take me out of that time, right? Put me like out of time, and you showed me, okay, this is what Modern Warfare 2 looks like then, right? Boots on the ground. You know how much I fucking love that term, Anthony.
Oh yeah.
Boots on the ground, like, it's your gun, your grenade, and your pistol. Like that's basically all Call of Duty was back then. It's not destructible environments, not large scale battles, but it's like more tactical than Battlefield. But it's also more arcadey. But a ton of fun. If you were to show me what Modern Warfare 3 in 2024 looks like now, with the cash shop and the battle pass and Warzone and the skins and the non-existent story, they shitting all over my boy Soap. It would make my fucking head spin if it wasn't a gradual build-up. Like between 2009 and 2024. I don't know. Like, I'm getting very fucking
riled up
here. Yeah, I'm getting very flustered here right now. But I'm just trying to get across the point of like, I am so tired.
It's
so
always
tired
a gradual way.
of what it's become. And like, I still play Modern Warfare 3, and ironically, it's probably the best gameplay that the series has ever had. But everything around it, well, that's my personal opinion. You can.
Yeah, well, I like to pick apart. Your subjective opinion. I will just say is objectively false.
False.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Anthony. I'm trying to make a goddamn point here.
Go ahead.
You fucking asshole. I love the way that Modern Warfare 3 plays. Okay, is that better, dickhead?
There you go.
But everything else around it is just, they did a deal with the devil, and there's really no coming back unless they fail and fall flat on their face for like 5 years running, which is just not going to happen.
Yeah. We talked about this
my
at
TED talk.
we talked about this ad nauseum that Call of Duty won't really be on its last legs, or it can't possibly be for like another 10 years because Modern Warfare 2019's revitalization is just too powerful.
It was too, and it was at the perfect time too. Think about it. It was height of the pandemic. Everybody was stuck at home. Everybody was playing Modern Warfare 2019, and then fucking Warzone hit. Like, you could not ask for a better set of circumstances. It was so perfect. Yeah. It was so perfect, and the game was as good as it needed to be, and it gave COD such a shot in the arm, and they fucking ran with that shit, man. We have bunnies and Greek gods now, and clowns and shit in COD, and like I still play. I play as the sister of battle from Warhammer, because they had a crossover event, and I fucking love Warhammer, so I got it.
They added fucking Warhammer characters into Call of Duty?
Yeah, they added a Space Marine, an Imperial Guardsman, and a Sister of Battle.
A Space Marine? What the fuck? How?
It's not like a big imposing like what you would think a Space Marine is, but he's like scaled down or something. Yeah, he's like one of the regular operators in a set of power armor without the helmet. Which if he had the helmet, I would have bought, but he didn't.
But so they added Greek gods too, because fucking Fortnite just.
There's like a marble statue of Zeus that you could buy right now that is playable. Like they've gotten wild, Joe. They've gotten fucking wild with it. I mean, they have like these bundles that they call Mastercraft.
Someone didn't accuse it of being pay to win. You just like stand still and you just.
Well, like they have these characters that are. Don't get me wrong. Props to the artist for designing these, because they are stunning 3D models in these games. Like, it's not
a lot of them are unnecessary, but a lot of them look great. Yeah,
but like they have animated effects all over them, like things moving around, shifting skin. Like, it's crazy what they do with these skins. They just don't fucking belong in COD, but it's never gonna change. So I'm just wasting my breath.
Yeah, it's. That kind of.
What even started me on this rant? I don't even know.
Isn't this the guy from Tekken? This fucking Panther dude. I googled Call of Duty Zeus because when you said Zeus, I pictured like a Greek god, like the fucking that's what we're talking about, right? Like the.
No, that's not the one.
Okay. All right, never mind.
You would know it when you saw it. I'm looking for it right now.
It's a character from Call of Duty that I'm not familiar with. Okay.
Well, it's not a character from COD. It's an
operator that's added to Call of Duty, even if it's not in universe.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, so it's I don't know. It's fucking dumb, man.
Yeah. We got here from talking about games that have kind of lost their identity for multiple reasons.
Basically trend chasing. That's more or less
it's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's just
every now and again they'll come out with something that I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. Like the fucking Warhammer skins. I'm like, I gotta have one of those.
There's a lot of different angles, and it's kind of sad to see all these different series. Like you just got done talking about Call of Duty. We talked about Battlefield. Like I think about series like Dead Rising. When it came out, from the day it came out to like the day it technically died, was just people from the outside constantly saying, change the game to be a certain way, change the game to be a certain way, change the game to be a certain way, and the second they do, it doesn't sell and it dies. And then you have games like Guilty Gear, which is kind of like uproot the gameplay and the characters and kind of like leave the old fans for dead, but it sells a bit better. But it's like it's a lot more consumable. And it's almost like, where like Battlefield and all these other shooters kind of like, throw a bone to, certain stupid diversity hiring practices and freaking kind of like a Fortnite thing where it's like everything's customizable. There's all these wacky bundles and shit like this. You look at Japan and kind of what they do with their franchises, they just kind of make it like consumable seasonal anime, which is just like trash you watch and whatnot, and you kind of strip away what's unique about it. I don't know, there's so many series for multiple different reasons that have just kind of like lost their identity and gotten chipped away, and it's kind of sad. I'm hoping that with some of the things that are changing, which you hear things about changing, like the money's starting to dry up in a lot of ways. These initiatives like are not safe bets anymore, so the money just isn't there anymore, and you have different companies removing these policies from their websites. I'm hoping we see just as we keep saying AAA developers and the IPs under them are kind of like less strangled by these policies. AA's kind of rise up. Indies, it's a coin toss. A lot of them have their heads up their asses. They're very, it's like a museum of modern art kind of thing nowadays. Instead of just, occasionally one guy will come out of his basement and he's just like, I spent the last 6 years making this game and it's really good. But a lot of it is just a lot of blowhard, self-important people making, pixel art games. So we'll see what happens. But it is a shame. It is a shame to see all of these really high quality and like beloved IPs just kind of be put through the ringer and have identity crises, and all this shit. Like, we mentioned, Battlefield, Call of Duty, I mentioned Guilty Gear, I mentioned Dead Rising, but there's so many others that have had similar, like, it's like you have one sequel and it's like nothing what you expected from previous games, and it's nothing that you wanted from previous games, and it's just, they're kind of dead in the water. They could get a revival, but it's like, why did you do this to them in the first place? Who is this for? Sucks.
Yeah, it's for the people that tell the developers what to do.
Yep.
It's really what it is. Anyway, so enough doom and gloom. I don't want to talk about this anymore. If you guys want to wrap it up, that's fine. But I do have I have a question more of a more philosophical nature that I would like to get your opinions on.
Go for it.
So, I mean, obviously it's in the realm of gaming, but it's definitely not like a right or wrong answer. So, okay. I am of the opinion that as far as like a next gen console will come out, right? Like quote unquote next gen console. It's got way better hardware, better types of technologies and processes in it that it utilizes. The publishers like Microsoft or Sony will say, oh, it'll be able to run these games at like these 4K resolutions, or probably the next step is going to be 8K at these ultra high frame rates. It's going to look better than ever before. Blah, 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 blah. I am of the opinion that I think we have reached a point in game development or hardware development that games look as good now as they ever will or ever have any right to going forward. I think that the next step in true next-gen game development are going to be more of the technologies at which games are made. And I'm not talking about like VR and shit like that. I'm saying like, let's...
He starts laughing at me because he knows I have a headset. Bitch.
I'm saying like take a game like, and as much as I hate to use this as an example, but this is the only thing that's coming to the top of my mind right now. Take a game like Star Citizen. I'm sure we all have our opinions on Star Citizen. That being said, their server meshing technology with what they're able to do across one server to another, like that is going to be, if they are able to implement it the way that they want, the way that they're promising, it's going to be fucking game changing for the way the games are made. Mm-hmm. So my question is, do you think that game development and the way that games are consumed and made for that matter, is it going to be more of a, important number go up as far as resolution and poly count and assets on screen and all that shit versus how you interact with a game world, how the things that you're going to be able to do on like a technological standpoint of these massively multiplayer games that are no longer instanced, like they're truly alive and breathing. Like,
so
is that am I articulating that right? Do you understand?
I understand.
I feel like I kind of understand what you're saying, but for context, what was the server meshing thing with Star Citizen? Because I don't.
They were working for years to implement this technology where, like, so you as a player with your ship, you're on one server, just call it server 1, right? And then you want to go to a destination. But this destination is on another server because of like load balancing and whatnot. So in order to cross over to that other server seamlessly, mind you, no load screens or no interruptions of any kind, they developed what they call server meshing, where you just like seamlessly bounce from one server to the next, winding up in the in-game destination that you wanted to get to in the first place. And as the player, you notice absolutely fucking nothing. It just works seamlessly. Like you would just, go to that destination and it would work exactly how you would expect. You don't hit a load screen. There's no button prompt. There's no instance change, nothing. You just go to that other location that you're trying to go to. But on the back end, you're now technically on a different server so that the load is spread out across everything else in their network. So that is what the meshing is.
So, because I know that EVE Online sort of, if I remember correctly, they sort of do stuff like that, because EVE Online, as far as I'm aware, they only have one game world, but like their sectors are like all kind of separated and based on different servers. That's why they have that one system where like if too many players are one area, they do this thing called time dilation, where they like basically slow a battle down to like make sure that like everybody's attacks are going through, etc., and nothing is being missed or lost. And people aren't like teleporting, which, as far as I'm aware, fails sometimes anyway, just because of the sheer size. But okay, yeah. As far as like for like technology, I think like there's like as far as like aesthetics are concerned, I don't really think. I think that people, I think they're putting a little too much into it. If that's what you're trying to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, elaborate on that, please.
So I think, as far as I'm aware, and I don't know this for certain because I'm not like an insider, like like GTA 6, are you familiar with like how much money they have spent developing that game? That it's
I'm sure it's an obscene amount.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how much it is. I'm sure it's
like
probably going to be the most expensive game to be made, maybe with the exception of Star Citizen, because that's just been going over the fucking deep end.
Right.
The longer it's out.
My opinion on Star Citizen is that I don't fully believe it's ever going to actually come out.
I'm pretty sure the finish line is finally in.
No, they said that the 1.0 release is like it's actually within sight. Like they still can't technically give like a hard date to it yet, but they are. Like they're very close to being able to like tell you exactly when it's going to come out. And the Star Citizen YouTube, I know it sounds funny.
I'm laughing because like I remember talking about this fucking game on the pregame lobby, like 11 years ago.
The Star Citizen YouTube channel has been dropping like a ton of videos lately of new systems that they're putting into the game to alleviate all the antiquated old systems that they had when it first came out like 10 years ago. So according to them, it is getting very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
At any rate, you were asking about like technology versus like, are you saying
graphics,
like
basically?
Right. So graphics, I don't think, I hate to say it, I think that like visual fidelity is like a very important thing, but at the same time,
I don't think that that's false. I agree.
Right.
I'm just saying like I think at this point. I think it looks as good as it has any right to or needs to, I guess.
Exactly. I agree. I think that it looks, I think games nowadays look as good as they could ever possibly need to.
Right, that's my point.
To invest any further into it would be kind of is both pointless. It would be kind of a waste, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It just drives the costs up, to like further your point.
Yes.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like GTA 6, as far as I'm aware, is the most expensive video game ever created. I think it may actually I know that it shattered a couple of records. I think it may actually be the most expensive piece of media ever released.
Yes. Well, it's the most profitable. It's the most profitable piece of media.
Okay.
Not five.
That's separate.
But,
Joe, you guys are on different wavelengths. Dan, you're talking about it's one of the most profitable just from a standpoint of like GTA Online and all that stuff. Joe's saying it's one of the most expensive to create.
Like GTA, well, specifically GTA 6, which hasn't come out yet.
Okay, so as far as the total cost of development, Genshin Impact is sitting at 700 million plus. Star Citizen is sitting at 630 million plus. Monopoly Go is 500. Cyberpunk is 441.9 million plus. So this is as of is there a date here? Wait, what?
Speculations for GTA 6.
Wait, no. Disregard all of that.
You're reading profits, I think.
No,
Right.
costs. It says costs.
Why the fuck does Genshin Impact
But this is
didn't cost that much?
This is grossly out of date. It says from March of 2014.
Okay.
So I'll just put it out there. The speculated cost of the development and marketing for GTA 6 is approximately. We'll go with the more generous estimate.
Are you including marketing into this number? Like, do you consider that what it costs to make a game?
Even if we don't, the corporation does.
They do, but okay. I haven't seen a shit ton of GTA 6 ads yet. To be fair, so as far as I'm aware, they haven't marketed the shit out of it yet. But like I said, they gave me a range, but even from the bottom end of that range, it's still kind of obscene. It's 1.6 billion.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't imagine. And here's the thing, I know Anthony is not a fan of games like Red Dead. You weren't a fan of Red Dead Redemption. I
thought it was too boring.
I loved it. I thought it was a great game. I didn't really give that much of a shit about the graphics per se, but I did like all the little details, just there was a lot of little things. There were certain aspects of gameplay that were a little fucking annoying and stupid. Like Anthony was saying, he hated that he would kill a guy and then another dude would just come out of fucking nowhere and report his crime, and he would just instantly be. It did kind of feel impossible to get away with crimes at certain points of the game. I opted to just not try to murder anyone, which is contrary.
I didn't even get that far into the game to really play around with the wanted system.
Right, but there was a lot of really nice details in the game, as far as the artificial intelligence behind the wildlife, the horses, right, and the way the way NPCs react, and you can kind of pseudo talk with them based on whether or not you decide to have you antagonize them or just be polite, things like that. Those were all cool if you would consider those technological advancements or whatever. But if you were to ask me, should Rockstar make another game that looks better than Red Dead but is just like it, I would say no. I would just say just make another Red Dead that looks just as good, but maybe with more shit in it or something. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
So what I'll say about that is, as somebody who's seen the leaked footage of Grand Theft Auto 6, and by leaked footage, what I mean is it's basically a bunch of developer build stuff.
Right.
They do seem to be prioritizing details of that nature. I remember there was a 3-minute video or something like that where it was literally taken from the perspective of inside a car and cycling through all the different options you could have for the interior of the vehicle, and how the switching why am I drawing a blank on this gear, how that affected the insides of the car, and the heads-up display on the dash, how accurate that was to the car itself. So that's kind of where
this game is going to be 500 fucking gigs.
Rockstar, and here's the funny thing: on console, they're not guaranteeing 30 frames per second. They said don't expect it to run at 30 frames per second.
I wouldn't even bother on console at that point. Maybe I'm just a fucking snob on this, but if it's not at least 60, I have such an issue playing it.
I wouldn't say I'm okay. For example, Dragon's Dogma doesn't run at 60 frames, and I'm fine with it. I really don't care. 30 is 24 even is where I'm comfortable, as long as it plays and it's not affecting how the game handles. If it looks, listen, I'm not going to get into this. Is a whole other conversation, frame rate. But what I'm getting at is to what Joe's talking about. The game, from what we've seen of GTA 6, it does look slightly better. That's probably not all in-engine footage. Some of it is, I think. But there are going to be a lot of details like that in GTA 6. To go to Dan's initial question, and to also kind of take what Joe was just talking about to kind of add to my own answer, is I think things like resolution and frame rate are incidental and kind of like secondary to the game making process. I think that that's like it's a specification thing that's kind of been elevated to like a graphical feature where devs will talk about like, oh, it's running in 4K and it's running at 60 frames. I'm like, that's kind of your expectation. You should be aiming for the resolution and frame rate that the console can handle, but what are you doing for me graphically? You are right in saying we are getting diminishing returns on graphics. I feel like this has been a topic that a lot of people have talked about, and everyone's kind of been hitting their like, this is where I draw the line as far as like how far we need to push graphics over the last 6 or so years. I would say people have been saying like, okay, you don't need to go much realer than that.
I also don't think that it's going to stop. Just to throw that in there.
That was my next step is I don't think it's going to stop either. I think technology in general, as it improves, people just say like, oh, look what I can do now. But it's kind of been foisted to the front because, you know, we talked about how there's been brain drain in the industry and there's a lot of outsourcing. When you have people that aren't artistically inclined or are just like slave labor, for lack of a better term, they can only push the boulder, so to speak. They can't chisel it down into something, into like a tool or like they can only push it uphill. So is it going to continue? I think we're going to get like trickles of improvements, but it's only as a result of the 600 people they need to send it to in India or China or Canada can only do it that way. They can't, there's no artistry behind what like this bulk labor is doing. So while you'll have games like, you know, I won't say it was stunning, but like you had Hi-Fi Rush, when that came out, it was like cell shaded. Nobody really does cell shading anymore. So it's like that game runs stable. You can get it to run on 4K on certain systems. I think on the, I don't know what it runs at on the Xbox, but it runs stable. It looks good. And it's taking advantage of this hardware with an Xbox Series X that's like way above what you would need to run a game like Hi-Fi Rush. And it just looks good. Artistry in general and just doing like an art style as opposed to realism is something that you don't see all that often. Even with like Ratchet and Clank, when that came out, it's like, sure, it's like cartoonish, but it's still got like realistic text.
Like,
no, I'm not saying it looks bad. I'm just saying like,
no, I didn't take it as that.
Yeah. Even with a game like that where you have the effects of going into the different dimensions, and that's where they really put that in there. When you're just playing the game, a lot of it has that kind of texture of like realism to it. So yes. I guess what I'm saying is we've kind of pushed technology to the point where we're getting diminishing returns, like you said. I think trying to force that, which is what they have to do, is driving costs up the same way that marketing budget does. So it's not necessary. I think that at a certain point, when we start kind of coming back from this brain drained industry that outsources everything, you are going to have kind of that situation like 2 generations ago where people were like trying to push things, not as much as like a Nintendo 64, PlayStation 1 day, or like, you know, the generations after it. It's not going to be that intense, but people are going to retroactively look at how far we've pushed console hardware and try to do things that they wouldn't have been able to do before, like back when. Right,
because I feel like. Yeah, finish.
So, to kind of finalize that example is like the last time, and I've told you about this, that I think that people really tried like that was like Xbox 360, PS3, and you had games like
because they had no choice. They had this vision in mind. They had to get creative to fulfill that vision.
But what I'm saying is people were taking advantage of the new hardware and trying new visions and things like that. Like you had Dead Rising, which is like, we need to put as many zombies as we can on screen because we haven't been able to do that before. They need to be interacted with a certain way. You had how many games were saying like better destruction than ever before. You had like Red Faction Guerrilla. Nobody's tried to, you know, do what that game did where like every building was destroyable. Imagine what you could do with that now, you know? It's going to be shit like that. Like, it's going to be gimmicks that would have been tried 10 years ago, but now people are realizing we have the hardware for it. I think that's going to be like the next turnaround, so to speak. But in the meantime, AAA is kind of stuck in that place where it's like they can only advance experiences that we know already because of how, between corporate overreach, consulting companies telling you to keep it safe in certain ways, and the fact that a bulk of your labor is outsourced and they're not going to be trying anything special, we're going to keep pushing in the direction that you were talking about.
Right. Yeah.
both with artists,
I mean, that
artistry,
was-
and feature spread.
Yeah. That was my philosophical question for you guys, because I was talking about this recently with somebody, and I wanted to get your perspective on it.
So I think the
like-
potential is there for something better. I'm just saying I don't think it's going to come from like another, like, we're going to have more powerful consoles. You know, it's like, you know, tomorrow you will be older than you were today. The next consoles will be better than the ones you're using now. It's you're going to see better hardware. I just think that we're at a point where there's so much stuff we missed trying that graphics, as they're just getting better, and resolutions as they're just getting better, whatever, it's at a certain point people are going to be saying like, holy shit, look at this hardware that needed to be pushed in such a way because we're trying to squeeze as much as we can out of these graphics, but now I have all this stuff to play around with and make something amazing with. I think we're going to see a couple of those when things start to turn around.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
solid
I
answer.
guess in like a less like kind of I use Red Dead too as an example, but like in a less kind of like, I guess, pretentious like example, like, you know, not like your horse taking a dump, like that's just not a detail that everybody needs, but like, for example, like Valve with Left 4 Dead, as far as I don't know if if I remember correctly, they did something with their pathfinding. I think it's like the SNPC system or something like that, where like I said, they kind of pushed the boundaries and allowed it so that, like, basically made it so that they were able to like effectively render and animate like a shit ton of zombies when you're playing this game, and it like ran well. So like I said, like, I guess like things like that, that's the kind of thing that I think is like, that's the kind of technology I suppose like I consider like important to invest in, rather than just pure like graphics.
Well, it takes a
Like,
lot of little details to make a world feel lived in, and which
Right.
is very important. Not necessarily on their own, but the sum of their parts ends up becoming way more important than just like the little bit of trash left on the street that, you know, you didn't need just by itself. But once it's mixed in with the fucking liquid leaking out of it and the rats around it and fucking flies made, like, you know, then it really starts to sell the idea of a lived-in environment. So I definitely agree. It, you know, but I feel like it's gonna be a lot of little shit.
And to be completely clear, things like details, it's something that you could always really do. It's just now like the cap has been raised quite a bit, and it comes down to the artist behind it, because, like, for example, ray tracing, right? That's kind of like an automatic tool that a lot of people kind of rely on, and in some cases it looks good, and in some cases it doesn't. Meanwhile, we've had techniques like baked-in lighting that have existed forever that has just kind of been abandoned. And now, as like people don't use that as often and they rely on something like ray tracing for lights, the cost of performance goes up because you're no longer like crafting and like optimizing the game a certain way to look a certain way, so it doesn't look as good as it could be, it doesn't run as smooth as it could be, and it's like that's an example of like what you might see people turn to again, is like older techniques that make games look better and aren't as performance cost heavy. Like, that's just an example. Because, and then as developers start doing that, you're going to see that like, not only do the games just run better overall, but now it frees up, you know, more of that overhead so that you can do smaller details in the streets. It's just it's a matter of how much is automated and done by outsourced labor and how much is done by a team of craftsmen. That's really going to carry it, because like you said, we're really just, and I'll say it again, diminishing returns on exactly what you get by default just by pushing the hardware up. We already have phenomenal hardware available in both computers and consoles. Like, it's just a matter of getting the right people there to create these experiences. And I think it's really, the biggest thing is going to be experiments and details that are currently possible, but the right people aren't in the right place. I think there's going to be like a kind of like a look back moment saying, look at just how much we've been pushing the hardware, but we haven't been doing anything with it. And then the perspective and what's important is going to shift, and you're going to get experiences that aren't just push it as high as we can go and hope for the best.
Right. Yeah. Time will tell. I mean, I think we can do but wait, obviously.
Yeah, it's good. Like I've been saying the last couple episodes, it's going to be, once we're past this kind of period, it's, fingers crossed that we have like a realignment. I do think things are just going to get better in the long run. It's a matter of how quickly that is, and that we won't really see until things start to change. And I think we're at that tipping point now. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that's all I wanted to ask. We're already like an hour and 40 minutes into this, so unless you guys something else to talk about, I think
what I wanted to talk about, I think we're good to wrap up. If we'll touch if need be, the other thing I wanted to talk about, we'll talk about next 2 weeks from now or the next time we record, whenever, because that's another 40-minute conversation potentially. So I think that's I think we've covered all we needed to today.
Yeah. Cool. Dig it.
All right.
All right. Well, I mean, Joe, thanks for joining us. I think it was a really good addition to the overall flow of the conversation.
Yeah. Do it again. Absolutely. Whenever.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Awesome. All right. So that was episode 4 of the Pregame Network podcast. Join us in another 2 weeks, I suppose. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Yeah.